Mūsų karta pirmoji, supratusi, kaip iš lėto kenkiame gamtai. Ir vienintelė, žinanti, kad dar yra laiko ją išsaugoti. Apsaugokime mūsų visų ateitį. Ergo.
The laws of physics, the laws of life. Laws connect everything. We think that to be legal advisors, we must live under the same philosophy, adapting to connect and connecting to adapt.
Nepraleiskite laiko veltui. Nauji kino festivaliuose kritikus ir žiūrovus sužavėję filmai. Elito kinas. Ketvirtadienio vakarais per LRT+.
Kad būtum, reikia kito. Kino Pavasaris. Kovo 24, balandžio 3 dienomis visoje Lietuvoje. Didysis partneris Ergo draudimo grupė. Informaciniai partneriai LRT 15 min žmonės.
Sveiki, mėly Kino Pavasario žiūrovai. Mano vardas Aistė ir man šiandien yra nepaprastai didelė garbė pristatyti svečią, kuris prisijungia prie mūsų virtualiai. ARTHUR RAMBO režisierius Laurent Cantet. Laurent, welcome to Lithuania.
Hello.
Welcome to Vilnius.
Thank you for this invitation, even if I do regret not to be with you in person. I know you are going through very difficult times, so I'm really trying to share and to understand what you are living now, and I do think of what's happening with a lot of emotion. So thank you for not having canceled the festival also, because I think culture is maybe something so important in this kind of moment that it's great that you went on. Thank you.
I think it's really precise what you're saying, that culture at the moment when reality is not really understandable from the first moment, culture becomes something that is in a way explaining us what is happening with us, with our societies, with the people. And I think that this is a very good intro to a conversation about ARTHUR RAMBO, because when I watched it for the first time in San Sebastian, I really thought that this is like, wow, this is such a timely film, the one that really captures the contemporary world and the contemporary pace of this world and the people that are facing all these challenges of contemporarity. And I wanted you to give us a little bit of an intro for the impulses for making this film, because I know that it's loosely based on the real story, right?
Yes, right. At the beginning, I don't think you can look at our society without looking at what's happening on social medias, because they take more and more space in our life, and they are also they go everywhere in emotional life, in political, and you have to deal with them. And I think that we don't think very much about what they are, what the game they are involving us in. So I wanted to make a film around, speaking of social medias. And this story happened in France. A young guy who was a writer, who also had a chronicle on a radio station, on the main radio station in France every day. He was something like 17 years old. And with his friend, they would make a chronicle on every subject they wanted. So it was sometimes very political, because they used to live in the country, in the banlieue, in the suburb. So they spoke very often of the suburb, but also they could speak of the book they read the day before, or the film they saw. And I thought they were really clever and impressive. 17 years old and being that, how do you say, mature. It was very, very, very impressive. And one day in the newspaper, I discovered some tweets he wrote a few years before, and that were, it's not the tweet you can read in the film, but about the same kind, you know, as disgusting, as impossible to accept, unacceptable. And at that moment, I thought that this kind of character could be a good way to tell the story I was looking for. Even if I didn't want to make a biopic or something very close to him, because I think it was maybe too early. And also, what interests me is more the mechanism of what's happening, and not exactly the history of that guy. And so I just focused on this 3 days. The moment he becomes very famous because of a book he just wrote, and his fall after the discovery of the tweets. And in those 2 days or 3 days, you can really see the way all that works.
No, and the pace and the speed, how, you know, the people can go up to the very top of the you know, social circles, and then they can go down in the immediate day. And this is, you know, like, this is I think the pace plays a very, very important role in your film. I think you're making a very, very strong comment about the very, very fast speed of contemporary world, where, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe it's my interpretation, but I think that this is the consequence of this enormous speed. This is also the fact that people don't manage to think about their acts, their values, and this is creating a huge, huge trouble.
Yeah, the film really speaks of the responsibility you have when you write something. So at the beginning, you see him speaking of his book, and I think he can feel responsible for each word he wrote in his book. But you know, when you write a tweet in 10 seconds, you have to be the first one to react. You have to find the best, the funniest way to say something. You have to be the more provocative you can be. And I don't think they don't feel responsible for what they write in this condition. And by the way, it's the problem is that they have the feeling to speak with their friends, except they have, Karim, for example, says he has 200,000 followers. So it means he speaks to the whole world when he writes that. So it's maybe more. You have to feel more responsible on that than on a book that just 5,000 people will read. And of course, what's I think the main danger of this way of being connected like this is that of course the complexity of thought is not possible when you write this way in 140 characters, maybe 280 now, but nobody used the whole possibility, and you have to go so fast. You have to be so punchy that right, you don't think, and the way you see the word, the way you reflect your thought about the word is very poor, and that's maybe the most dangerous thing for me with social medias.
And as a person, as a creator, as a director, since the film really talks about the Generation Z and the challenges that this generation is facing, including the world of social medias, do you think about some sort of I don't know, solutions for all these issues that we're facing now? Where can the young person look for some sort of, I don't know, more stable ground?
Right, the film asks a lot of questions about that, but unfortunately I don't have answers. I think that's always the way I'm working when I'm making a film. Film for me is the way to question the society, to ask questions about the society. And right, what interests me in this story is the complexity of the character. This complexity is the opposite of the simplicity of the social medias. And I think at the end of the film, I think there is a solution. Solution is to think. He met a writer in the film who is the only woman, the only person who doesn't judge him and just have nothing to say about his story except you are learning. And I think that young people that I met after, I met a lot of Q&As with young people in France here. And I had the feeling that they really managed now to, first to be afraid of what's happening on social media. Most of them have been trapped once by a friend or by something, and so I think they can realize how dangerous it can be. And also, they also have maybe a better way to analyze the messages. I remember once a boy of 16, 17 years old boy who told me in front of his teachers, so it was very involving for him. He told me, right, I must admit that if I would have read these messages on my Twitter, I would have maybe retweeted them because, right, it's so obvious for me that it's joke. It's not that is a third degree, it's not, you don't have to take it for what it says, but just for the mood of the guy who is making it. And so that's something that I can't understand because, right, maybe I'm too old or I'm not used to this kind of medias. But I think they need to decode, is it English?
Yeah.
Decode
Yeah.
the messages also. But I think they are growing up too in front of this medias.
I would really
maybe
like...
I'm too optimistic, but I do believe they manage to take a little bit more distance to it.
We have some audience here. Maybe there are some questions already.
Hello. Maybe I have one question. It's a kind of simple one, but I would like to hear about your own relationship with social media, maybe as a creator, and thank you.
Well, I don't use them. I spend a lot of time when I would write the film to just be informed of the way it works. And right, I think I'm not good for them. First, because I don't have time. I think it takes so much time to be always connected to someone, and I'm always very. I don't believe when someone tells me, so I'm connected to this guy or to this guy. Connected for me is you have to be in a more personal relationship than just reading a tweet that someone wrote for you, but also for 1 million people. So I'm not using them, and I don't think I will. Sorry. even if I think it's a very good way to also for militants to get connected. It's a good tool for groups that militates for something, and that would be very, very interesting too.
This is definitely, I think that your movie is also commenting on the fact how dangerous is this place, the social media, how difficult it is to separate good from evil, and how difficult it is to find your own path and act responsibly, and so on and so on. I think
I think that's the main idea of the film is just think of what you are doing when you are on social medias.
I would like to, you already mentioned about the complexity of the character of Karim D, and like one of the most, like thing that fascinated me in the film was actually the complexity of him, the fact that you're not judging him, you're not damning him for everything that he's done, but then you're managing to really balance it out between the sympathy and the pity and the damnation for this just a very, very lost soul, very lost person.
Yeah, that was the most difficult thing when we wrote the film and when we shot, to find the good distance between me and the character. I didn't want to make a monster, because I think I can try to understand it, and even if a bastard disgusting thing doesn't interest me, when a guy I feel quite close to can write this, it really asks me a lot of questions and give me a sort of vertigo in front of him. And so he's not a monster, but also I didn't want to protect him too much. I didn't want to forget what he wrote. That's also why we decided to write the tweets on the screen, so that they can get all their violence. It's much even more than on telephone screen, because it's so big, and you have these words that really still shock me. And so I wanted people, the spectators, to go from one side to another, being quite close to him sometimes and sometimes reject him, and that was very, very difficult to balance. I think it was important not to judge him, because who I am to judge, first, and also because it's too easy to judge. It's too easy to say that's okay, that's bad, or that's good. Here I tried just to understand the way all that can work, and it's much more difficult than judging.
No, it's also like very in a way dangerous to judge it fast, because you can always be the one that falls next in the nowadays world where the cancel culture is so present. Whenever you become a little bit more public, you always risk to be condemned very fast for the things you say. So this responsibility that we carry every time when we go a little bit more public is, I think, in this connected world, is raising to the, it's just becoming very, very important.
That's what his editor tells him once. He says, "No, that's not only tweets now. They will make you pay your success now." And what interests me in this character also is that he is coming from a poor suburb in France, and everybody was so happy to see that this kind of history can exist, that this guy can come in Paris and be a writer and be acceptable by this new world he's trying to enter. And right, this kind of character has to be very careful about what they do, because they are very much more judged by everyone than anyone else. You have to be careful to what you make, what you say. That's what his friend says at one moment. He said, "You don't realize how fragile we are." And I think this kind of, in French we call them transfuges. I don't know, this kind of guy who are changing of social level and groups. Right, they are always. We are so happy to accept them, but they have to prove that they know the rules of the world they are entering. And as soon as they go a little bit on the side, they are sent back to where they come, to the suburb, and that's for me the second, after the reflection about social media, that's also the second theme of the film too.
So the film, in a way, is stating that the social mobility is, even if we want it, but it's still impossible in France, or in Paris at least, right? And the separation between the local communities or classes, the ones that are creating life in France, it's unbridgeable.
It's not impossible, but it's true that it's very difficult, because our society is very compartmented. You have, and everybody has his place, and everybody has to stay in his place or prove he can be as well in another one to be accepted. And yes, I think the French society is very, very divided like this. I don't know if it's specifically French. I think the world is built on this kind of separations.
I have a question regarding the title of the film and the play of names in ARTHUR RAMBO, referring to the poet, but also in a way reminding us of Rambo. Please elaborate a little bit on it.
Right, for me it was a sort of portrait of Karim Day. He has this desire of literature. That's a word I can't say in English, literature. And so that's a connection with Arthur Rimbaud, of course. And Arthur Rimbaud also is someone who has a double life. He is one of our most prestigious poet, but he's also the guy who went to Africa and make all kind of traffic and even he's not very clear guy. And also the Rambo, so the Rambo from the American movie, who for me represents more the fight and the angriness. And I think Karim is a mix of those two characters. And on one side, literature and thinking, and on the other side, he's very angry. That's maybe why he wrote those tweets.
Was it difficult to find an actor to inhabit all this complexity of the character that you're defining?
By the way, I was thinking of Rabban Aitufela when I would write. He is one of the kid from the class in my film Entre les Murs, and he's the only one of the rare of the class that wanted to go on acting after the first experience they had in my film. And so I saw him growing up in different films and having parts, more and more important parts in different films, and I would think of him. And of course, it's always difficult to trust, a sort of I was very afraid. I was afraid that I just thought of him because I knew him and I like him. So I had to meet a lot of other young actors, and Rabat proved me that he was the good one. And I think maybe because he shared something with Arthur Rambo, with Karim D, which is this change of milieu. He was, he was this kind of young boy in a college, or no, not college, school. He was not a good student at that time, and he was very tough. And then through cinemas and through all the film he made from that time, his status changed in the neighborhood, and now he's the one who is making films for everyone. So this he could really share that with Karim D, and I think it helped him a lot to be great in the film.
Maybe there are more questions in the audience. One of the most you have? Okay, maybe later. Just wanted to share that, like, one of the most striking scenes for me was the one with the TV reporters and the brother of Karim D in the yard when Arthur comes and interrupts, and then he's got the conversation with his brother, where he suddenly realizes actually the consequences of everything that he has done in the past. And it's not a particular question, but I just wanted maybe you to elaborate a little bit on the ideas behind this scene.
Well, I wanted this confrontation with his young brother for a different reason. The first one was to send him back to the anger he could felt when he was this age, you know? And he was, I think he was looking like his young brother 4 or 5 years ago, and his brother tells him, "Okay, you forget it, you forgot it, but you share this life with me. You know that I have a lot of reason to be very sad today, and I think it was important to bring him back to this emotion. The second reason is also to make him face the responsibility of what he wrote, because the little brother, just because he's not very mature at that moment and because he's very angry, he take the words for what they say exactly, precisely. And the distance of humor, the distance of the second degree or all that doesn't exist for him. And at that moment, he realized that writing an anti-Semitic tweet really helped this young guy to assume his own anti-Semitism. And even if I don't think Karim D is an anti-Semite, but the words are here and they mean something, and they have certain importance when you choose one word. It's not for nothing.
And consequences later on.
And consequences.
Let's talk about this hatred speech, which is it's so diverse, and it's against anyone, basically, any groups which are like somehow marginal, and so Karim D is not, Arthur Rambo is not, I mean, you cannot call it political, because his hatred it's against everyone and against himself even, and the people that he's representing. Tell a little bit about the research that you've done, like, into how did you find these ideas?
Right, I think that he doesn't hate people. Even if he says horrible thing on women, for example, or on Jewish, or on homosexuals, is not against them. It's just a way to exist by writing something funny, something brilliant, which is not, of course, brilliant, but in the context of social media file, it can become this. And I think that it says, for example, yes, it was maybe easier for me to make jokes about anti-Semitic jokes than something else. And so, but you feel first that he realized that when at the same moment he is saying it, and then when he goes on thinking, he said that was the mechanism of the media. If you want to be read,
yeah.
Read. If you want to be read, you have to shock. And what is more shocking than anti-Semitism? So I use this, and I think at that moment it takes the real level of the strengths of the medias. You think they help you to communicate, but in fact, I think you are more doing what they want you to do. They need punchline. They need provocation. They need, and you are the one who allowed them to exist.
So you mentioned that you're not using the social media yourself, but I wonder if for the research you enter that world in order just to learn about the language of social medias and Twitter especially.
Sure, I spend quite a lot of time on Twitter and on other social medias, but I couldn't find my place in it.
Tell a little bit more about what type of director you are, because the film is really, really precise. When you watch it, you understand that each and every detail is really counted. I'm wondering what are your methods of directing on the set? Like, do you stick with the script very, very precisely, or there's some points of improvisation for the actors too?
No, there was no improvisation on that film. Sometimes on other films I do use improvisation, but here, but I spend a lot of time working with the actors before shooting, rehearsing and speaking with them and trying to first to see which word they would use to say something rather than mine. And also, sometimes, since they have a better knowledge of the subject than me sometimes, it was interesting for me to confront my hypothesis on what I would say to what they really experienced in their life. And sometimes it helped me to enrich the script or to even change some scenes because I realized that I'm not right, So I work a lot with people I'm shooting.
I think there is a question in the audience.
Hello, thank you for your film. I believe that you mentioned that we have to be careful with our words in the social media, but I was wondering how careful are you while writing your scripts?
Well, I think there is a real responsibility to write a script, a real responsibility to decide that I will say this or this, and that I even think that people will be interested by it. So there is also a sort of pretension to write a script. So I think gives me a real... I'm very careful on what I'm writing and doing, because I think there is a real privilege to be able to make a film, and that I don't want to use it for nothing. And that's also why I mainly try to describe and understand things rather than giving a statement or a point of view that is mine. Of course, in the film, I think there is someone who is my double in the film, would be this writer we already spoke of, who really just ask him to tell him, so I have nothing to say about you, but you have to understand, you have to work on you, and you have to and that's the only position I can have in front of him. And what I like when I go to watch film in cinema is also that film give me works, give me time, give me space to think of what he is telling, and to give me the possibility to start a reflection from the film and not just give me the solutions or the explanation. So that's the way I'm trying to work.
Are there more questions? Then if not, maybe for the ending, I would like to go back to another scene that I'm very, very fond of in the film is, again, the one where Karim D meets his teacher, a writer. And I think that this is a very, very strong comment on maybe in contemporary world, we've got influencers, we got all these outspoken person on the social media, etc., but maybe what we really, really lost is the real sense of the authority figure, someone to look up to, someone to be a teacher, and someone that, you know, like that is leading us in our life when we're building up our value system and our moral decisions are being made with their influence. I wonder if that was also your intention, to comment on the importance for the authority figures in our lives.
Right. I think this woman for sure had this kind of power on him. And what interests me is the way she is using it. She is not telling him, you were bad and you have to do this and this. She just tried to help him thinking by himself. And I had a lot of teachers that really impressed me when I was young. And the one who really impressed me are the ones who helped me to think and not told me what to know, you know. And I think that's very important. Even in school, you have to. I think teachers should really think of that much more than, you know, giving the knowledge is easy, but giving you the strength to think from this knowledge is the most important for me.
Since the time is up, maybe for the ending, Laurent, maybe you could say where your sharp look is going to be directed at in the near future.
It's too early to speak of it. I don't know exactly, and I think what's happening today in the world, I have a feeling that I have to think differently, and I have to think differently of the film I want to make. And I think we have to all think on what's happening in this moment, and it's not possible to go on the same way, I think. So that's, I'm in a moment of doubt sometimes.
Well, but thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to remind the audience that the film is still available in the festival, and it's going to be on release in Lithuania. So for those that haven't seen it yet, there will be more opportunities. And thank you so much again.
Thank you very much, and good luck. Ciao.
Take care. Bye.
Kad būtum, reikia kito. Kino Pavasaris. Kovo 24, balandžio 3 dienomis visoje Lietuvoje. Didysis partneris Ergo draudimo grupė. Informaciniai partneriai LRT 15 min žmonės.